You are Locked On Texas Tech, your daily podcast on the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Great to be with you again on Locked On Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, always free and available on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts. And it's great to be back with you for this reaction episode brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use our code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase with the only Chris Level. I'm Casey Cowan. Chris, fresh off of the call as the Red Raiders open up year number 2 under Texas Tech head coach Grant McCasland with a big win over Bethune Cookman, 94-61. Whole lot to like about the ball game, Chris, and we're going to get into plenty of what we saw happen on the floor. But I want to get this out of the way first. You open up the season, stands point guard. We see Chance McMillan, I guess, commanding most of the ball handling duties, but no Elijah Hawkins. No Christian Anderson, and it was really not something that coming into it we anticipated. Texas Tech makes this announcement. It kind of becomes public knowledge just prior to the ball game. So before you even get into game one, you're dealing with a little bit of an improvised script, right? Having to make some changes on the fly, I guess.
Yeah, not ideal, right? It's because I think Grant McCasland's like his media availability. Like I want to say at the end of last week, there was, hey, who all's been playing point guard, and he's like, well, Chance and Darian, have played some, and and he was asked the question, would you play Elijah and Christian Anderson at the same time? Yes, but, going at it because, man, Baylor got stomped by Gonzaga, a night ago. You see A&M, with a top 25 ranked team go to Orlando and get popped. I think South Carolina got beat by a mid-major on opening night. I mean, anyway, but point being, you got to be careful at this time of year because it can ruin your resume if you're not careful. And it's kind of like going in because, the closest thing you've got to point guards, two of them, it's like playing a full football game, like out of a Wildcat QB, like where you've got a running back, a receiver, or something like that. They're just going to take the snaps and we'll figure it out. Like you're playing left-handed the whole time. But that I'm probably overstating it because I thought, and we talked about it on the broadcast, but they played St. Mary's. They scrimmaged St. Mary's this way without, Hawkins and without Anderson, with Chance kind of manning most of the point. But I mean, to those guys' credit, man, they combined in this game for, I think, 11 assists and 2 turnovers. Talking about Darian Williams and Chance McMillan, who they kind of controlled most of the game and tried to initiate most of the offense at times, and hunted their shots on occasion because both of those guys are in a lot of cases used to playing off the ball. But I thought they did a good job, not just of facilitating, but setting guys up and then taking care of it as well. But yeah, I was kind of curious. Okay, openers are tricky. You're not real sure what you're going to get. And oh, by the way, your QB. I mean, we're talking about the guy that led the country in assists last year, in Elijah Hawkins. But thankfully, Cowan, it doesn't appear. There's no knee braces. Nobody's on crutches. Nobody's on a boot over there between those two guys. I think Jazz Henderson, as the release stated, is going to be out for a while. But the other two, it appears very much short term. And Emily Alaho too, because you get into garbage time here. You're up 40. It's like empty the bench. You don't really have one right now. Hey, man. But we're back. We are back.
Yeah, and it leaves you something, I guess, to be excited about a little bit further down the road when you actually get these guys in action. But there was plenty to be excited about as far as the guys that were on the floor, Chris. And I'll just turn it over to you, man. What was standing out to you about the win over Bethune Cookman? You got off to a decent start, but then we really saw Texas Tech kicking into overdrive with a 17-0 run, I think, to close out the first half. You wind up shooting the lights out really from the floor. Some newcomer impact, but you also had some of that mainstay impact from some of those familiar faces as well. So what were some of the things that were standing out to you?
Yeah, there's mostly good here, and there's some bad. I say bad. There's some things that Grant McCaslin certainly is concerned about, or will take from this game and use it to coach his guys and coach them hard. Some bullet points here, and we can just go through them, and then we can kind of go back and forth. First, you can really shoot the ball. I mean. And it's coming from that trio of returners right there. But as I'm looking at it, yeah. So Darion Williams with a couple of them, Chance McMillan with 4 of them, and then Dr. K with 7 of them. And you tie a school record with 16 threes in this game. You've done that 3 times previously. You know, most recently in 2019. But you tie that one more. Kevin Overton rattled one in and out at the end of the game, and thought you may break a record on opening night. That would have been fun. But man, in this building specifically, because if you remember last year, they had that big, scrimmage in Denton, and they beat A&M, and they just poured them in from deep. I mean, it really shot the ball well. Their first 3 games last year, they shot it really poorly. I think 5 of 23 was what you had in the opener last year. I think that's right. And then it continued into game 2 and game 3, and you just knew, okay, it's not going to stay this way. There's too many good shooters out here. And then you settled in. But boy, you were throwing them in from everywhere tonight. And Kerwin Walton, man, I mean, he'll get nights where people are just going to not give him these looks, but it is fun to see these guys shoot it. And I think you'll get more help when Hawkins and Anderson return, because they can really put pressure on the defense, and then you're not having to create your own shot. You just can spot up and do your thing from the corner. But that's the first thing that sticks out. Second thing is good to have Devin Cambridge back. He's not there yet, as sharp as he's going to get. It's going to take a bit, but it's just fun to see him running up and down the floor and doing.
He was
things.
amped, it seemed like.
I think that's I think he's probably back maybe much earlier than he would have thought. Like if you ask him in July what the outlook is going to be, I bet that November 5th in the opener is probably not on the table at that point. But you started seeing John Rothstein and some of these other folks saying, "Hey man, he's cleared, he's good to go." And then we talked about it on the broadcast. I mean, there's no pitch count here. He's a full go. He's medically cleared, but it's going to take a bit to get back into the flow and doing what he's good at. And you're right. I think he was juiced. JT Toppin can play. That is not breaking news. But JT Toppin with 19 points, 8 rebounds. He's really handy and crafty around the basket. A lot of intangibles there. He has 4 block shots, which I probably failed to mention enough on the broadcast, the telecast and things like that. But yeah, JT is got a chance to really help you, because it's such a piece to the puzzle, because he kind of plays off of the strengths of the other guys. It allows Darion to step out. But it also, if you want to put Darion, closer to the basket, now he's got some help and somebody else that you can't focus on. He's somebody that I think is just really nifty and can score around the basket. He stepped out and hit a 3 to JT Toppin. Yeah, it's just, fun to watch the returners, though. We get caught up into the new pieces.
First, today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle all the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. And right now, new customers can bet only $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL and a whole lot more, all in one place. So when you get a hunch, a gut instinct in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more, all on the same page where you place your bet. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a gut feeling again, and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
Fun to watch the returners, though. We get caught up into the new pieces, but man, if Chance and Darion Williams and Kerwin can kind of give you a lot of this nightly, scoring and taking care of the ball and all those things, it's a lot of fun. But the tricky thing is, I don't want to say this is all going to stunt your development as a team, but you're going to kind of have to get readjusted when these guys come back.
Yeah.
And all that. But you'll be a bit deeper because you played the bulk of this game with 7 dudes, man.
Yeah, sort of a delayed picture that'll come together since they're not available when you're ready to go. But I thought Tech rebounded pretty well. Making a lot of shots will have something to do with this, but I think it was a goose egg in the offensive rebounding category for Bethune-Cookman in the first half. That's just nice to see regardless. I thought you rebounded pretty well. I'm sure Coach McCaslin not really loving the 12 turnovers at the end of the day, but nonetheless, one thing I did love was his comment to you at halftime. You're talking to him as he goes off the floor, and you mentioned the hot shooting. And to paraphrase, he said something along the lines of, yeah, we knew these guys could shoot, but the question is, can they defend anybody? So he's dragging it all back to defense, right? And I love to hear that from a head coach, especially when you're in a 33-point win kind of setting.
Yeah, so you kind of go on a mini 9-0 run, over halfway through the first half. You go on that 17-0 run at the end of the half, and you kind of really start to separate, push this thing away. But all the while, Grant is like fired up. He's stomping on the floor. He's very, he's pointing fingers. He's getting frustrated with certain guys because and as this thing would play out, you would pull away even further. And we've talked about, the hot shooting and the 16 threes and all those things, but he's just harped on, if we want to ultimately go to where we want to, and you want to contend for the league championship, you want to get the NCAA tournament and make some new noise, you got to be more physical. You've got to be much better as a team defensively. We can't go through these spurts. I mean, he's talking about like every possession, we got to be all out. We've got to, and I think more depth will help with that. So guys don't get tired. There's fresher groups. You'll have more of a substitution pattern and all those things. But that's one of his main focuses, because I think that, as we talked about it on the broadcast, that you scrimmage Drake, who's, let's see if you remember this name, who's coached by Ben McCollum. And they're very good on offense because Ben McCollum is a guy that been tried to hire by Mark Adams, and there was rumors about Grant trying to hire him when he first got the job here and all those things. But everybody loves Ben McCollum's ability to coach offense, and he just set the world on fire at that small school in Missouri at that level with all this crazy numbers and offensive stuff. And then Grant also set up the scrimmage with St. Mary's, who beat Gonzaga a time or two last year. And St. Mary's got all those white dudes from Australia and all the places, but they run a ton of sets. The point is, he wanted to put his team in a position against two teams that you could scrimmage that were going to be very difficult to guard. And you got to follow them around. You got to switch. You got to talk. You got to communicate. You can't take a play off. And all that, and I think you could just see that's big picture focus that they're trying to be better at. And he kind of talked about it with John Harris and I before the game, and we mentioned on the broadcast about we got to be better guarding the ball. Like, you want to know a key to the game, we got to be able to guard the ball. And so he echoes that at halftime with me, but. They will tell you they miss Joe Toussaint. Grant has said this because of his on-ball defense. We talked about this. Yeah. He feels like Kevin Overton is kind of that guy right now, but can we keep the ball in front of us? And can we, where's our help defense and things like that? And again, he's not like just crazy mad. I just think as he pointed out after the game, there's just too many possessions or spurts when we're not doing this. And this will be something that they feel like they need to get much better at. But hey, man, you shoot it like they did, and you're gonna give yourself some margin for error.
At least.
And on the glass, I mean, I think you make it. What are you plus 23 on the glass?
Yeah, I think so.
I knew. I kept mentioning on the telecast, but Coach Theus, like, he was just really worried about the rebounding battle. He's like, anytime a team like us goes up against a Power 4 team, you just worry about size, and you got to hang on the glass and be able to just be in that battle. And we want to be a hit first team, but they did not necessarily get that done tonight. And I thought they suffered a tough blow early in this one because Antoine Jones, the UCF transfer that played against Texas Tech twice last year, once in Lubbock actually, he went down with that ankle injury, and he was supposed to be one of their top guys, but he goes down with that ankle injury about 5 minutes in. So a bit tricky there.
Thought it was a fine debut, the first of 4 consecutive from United Supermarkets Arena. First of 2 this week. So we'll be back at it coming up on Friday as they play host to Northwestern State. Chris, appreciate a little bonus time to react to win number 1 of year number 2 under Grant McCaslin, man. Enjoyed it.
Yeah, man. It's fun to be back. Everything's happening at the same time. We'll keep striving and pushing and all the business, but all the sports all at the same time. But away we go. This is what November is, right?
That's right.
Right. We had NFL trade deadline. There's some election thing going on. You've got college football playoff rankings coming out and all that. But no, man, basketball is back.
Get subscribed on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts so you never miss an episode. You never know when they're coming at you during this busy time of year. So make sure you're subscribed there. Of course, also at the show notes, check out the Matador Mob link, your direct line to Chris and myself with one-on-one text straight to your phone. You can try on a free 14-day trial if you hit the link there in the show notes. For Chris, I'm Casey. Appreciate you being out there and hope to see you back for the next round on Locked On Texas Tech.